So let's start with this particular lecture. We are going to cover the requirements, what actually requirements are, what are the different types of requirements we have, what is the need of requirement, and what is SRS, right? So first thing is a big question, requirements. What are requirements? Requirements are basically, in simple word, if I say, or if I elaborate in one word, is the need of customer, is the need of customer. That is what actually the customer or the end user wants from the software, right? So that is the main concept of requirement in simple definition. Now, I have already told you the customer can be the end user or the end user can be different, right? So in this, we have, if end user is different from the customer, the end user is going to interact with the software, right? Because end user is the one who is going to operate the software. So end user is going to operate with the software. That is why the interaction of end user is very much important in getting the requirements, because end user is the one who is going to operate the software and going to know what actually he wants, what actual functionalities he wants from the software. So the other term that comes is functionalities. What functionalities are needed in the software, what we want the software to perform, right? So all these things need functionalities, or I can say features of the software. So all these are what? These are attained through the requirement. We get all these things from the requirement. Right? Now, let's understand this. What actually the requirement is defined as. A requirement mandates. Mandates means it makes it compulsory that something should be accomplished, transformed, produced, or provided. That means the software should do something or should produce something. So that particular point, that is accomplishment, transformation, production, providing of service, all these are what? These are the requirements in the software. Sorry. Requirement engineering is the discipline concerned with understanding the externally imposed conditions on a proposed computer system, determining what capabilities will meet these imposed conditions, and documenting these capabilities as software requirements for the computer system. Now we have seen what is requirement, but now we know there is a procedure called requirement engineering process. Now, what is this requirement engineering? Requirement engineering is the discipline in which what we are going to do, we are going to understand and will get to know that what are the imposed conditions or what are the constraints that are to be put on the computer system. And we are going to determine what are the capabilities, what functionalities it should do, perform. And all these are documented in the software requirement specification. So this is what the requirement engineering process is. To attain the requirements, to gather all the requirements, we need to go through this particular process. So to get all the requirements, we need to go through the process that is called as requirement engineering process. Now, we are going to see what are the different types of requirements we have. We have different types of requirements termed to be as basically the main are functional and non-functional requirements. You can see here, this is the functional requirement, non-functional requirements, and third one is called as the domain requirements. So these are the three requirements, different types of requirements. We'll see what and how we elaborate these particular terms as. First is called as the functional requirement. Functional requirement is what? Functional requirement is the requirement which is stated. That means if some input is provided, to the software, then what it should produce, what output should it give, or how it should behave, right? What output should it give or how should it behave while getting the particular output. Now, what I mean to say when I say how it should behave, I mean to say if some input is given which is not valid, that means if invalid input is given, the software should give me an error, let's say a pop-up that the input is invalid, right? So this is the behavior. And what output should it give? That means the process. So functional requirements are what? Statements of services the system should provide, how the system should react to particular inputs, and how the system should behave in particular system. So one is the reaction of the particular input to the particular input, and second one is the behavior. So reaction is related to the output and behave is related to the behavior, as I have explained right now. We are also going to see the examples. We can give one example. Let's say we have a particular software, let's say attendance software, SIM. So in that particular software, what is it? What are the basic or what are the functional requirements of those? That means the functional requirements for those are that whenever the attendance is updated, right? Whenever the attendance is updated, it should be updated either by the faculty or by the admin. And the student can only see those particular attendance, right? If a student is logging in and wants to see his or her attendance, they can see, right? If any unauthorized person is logging in, he should not be allowed. Next is non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements are the constraints on the services or functions offered by the system, such as timing constraint, constraints on the development process, standards, etc. So now non-functional requirements are related to the constraints to service or to functions. Such as you must have seen, sometimes you fill up a form and their time is out. Once you are taking longer time to fill that particular form, that is giving you time out, right? So that is a non-functional requirement kind of. For providing security, defining portability, then maintainability, robustness of the system. So all these are what? These are non-functional requirements. Basically, I can discriminate between these two, that functional requirements are stated by the user, while non-functional requirements are not always stated by the user. Okay, these are the features which are defining the complete system, as how secure the system is, how robust the system is, how much time does it take to recover from a particular failure or from error. So all these are what? These are non-functional requirements. The third one is called as the domain requirements. Now, what are these domain requirements? Domain requirements are the ones that come from the application domain of the system and that reflect the characteristics of that domain. Basically, earlier we only defined the functional and non-functional requirements. This domain has been introduced. Now let's take the examples of these particular functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements. If a patient is unknown, let's say we have a medical software in which the prescriptions by doctors can be given to the patients. So if a patient is known to be allergic to a particular medication, then prescription of that medication should result in warning message being issued to the prescriber. So that is the functional requirement. That is the need which is, defined by the user or defined by the person who is going to operate this particular software. Next is non-functional requirement. So this is stated by the customer. The system shall be available to all clinics during normal working hours, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 17:30. Downtime during normal working hours shall not exceed 5 seconds in any one day. Now you can see this particular downtime during normal working hours shall not exceed 5 seconds in any one day means what? The recovery time should be not more than 5 seconds. It should not exceed 5 seconds. If the system fails or if the server is down, whatever problem is this, the problem should not exceed more than 5 seconds. It should recover. So this is the recovery time. This is the robustness of the system. So this particular requirement is not exactly stated by the customer or by the user. These are the features that are needed to be included in the software to enhance the quality of the software, right? The last is domain requirements. The system shall implement patient privacy provisions as set out in the 1998 Data Protection Act, because this is related to the patient privacy. So this act has stated certain provisions which are to be included and implemented in the software. So this is the requirement which is, which is an environmental requirement. It is not stated by the user itself or the customer. Neither it is defined as the non-functional, but this is related to the medical software. All the medical software should include this particular protection, right? Now, one more thing, that we have one more type or one more parameter on the basis of which we define requirements. So what are those? Those are user requirements, system requirements, and software requirements. Now, what are user requirements? These are the requirements which are statements which are given in natural language, because the customers or the users are not using the high level language. They can use natural language. So they are using natural language statements plus diagrams of the services the system provides and its operational constraints. Now, these particular requirements are written by the customers as stated in the requirement. That is, this is a user requirement. So user means the customer. So these are written by the customers. These are written for the customers. Next one is system requirement. Now, what is the system requirement? A structured document setting out detailed descriptions of system services. This is a kind of a, we can say as a legal document also. This is a structured document setting out detailed descriptions of the system services. You must have seen certain legal documents in which clear detailing descriptions are given for all the services. So these are called as the sometimes legal documents. So that is why it is said that it is written as a contract. See, contract word is used because that is why I told you legal document that is structured between client and the contractor, right? So this is a kind of contract between the two. That is system requirement. Third one is called as the software specification. Software specification is what? A detailed software description, as the name suggests, software specification, which can serve as a basis for design or implementation. These are written for the developers. So requirements, user requirements are written for the customers. System requirements are written for the client and the contractor. And software requirements or software specifications are written for the developers so that they can easily design and develop the software. Now, let's see, we are talking about requirements, but what is the importance of this requirement? Why we are devoting so much time in gathering the requirement and understanding what is the requirement of the customer, why we are gathering it, and why we are putting so much time on it and efforts. Let's see. Making design decisions without understanding all the constraints on the system to be developed results in a system which fails to meet customers' expectation. So first of all, we have always seen that if any product, not only the software, but any product is designed and developed, it should satisfy or it should accomplish all the needs or all the want of the customers. Only then the customer will be satisfied. Else the customer will not be satisfied if all the requirements are not being fulfilled. So the success of product is dependent on the customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction is dependent on the completion of requirements by the product. So this is how same way it works for the software. So that is why we are saying that if we are going to design the software and develop the software without understanding all the constraints and the requirements, the system or the software will fail to meet the customer's expectations, and it will lead to a unsuccessful software. Second point is cost of correcting errors increases as the design process advances. Means what? Means if we correct the errors in the earlier phases only, then the cost of recovering from these particular errors will be lesser as compared to the point that if we recover or if we correct the errors at the later stage, it will hamper the design process, because the implementation is dependent on the design. Our coding and implementation is dependent on the design, and design is dependent on the requirement. So if there is any error in the requirement, it will reflect in design, and further it will reflect in the development of the product, that is in the implementation or coding. So we should avoid it. An error detected in the maintenance phase is 20 times as costly as to fix as an error detected in coding stage. This I have already told you that the earlier the error is detected, it will cost us less, and the later stage it is detected, it will cost multiple times, right? So that is why it is more important to gather all the requirements at the right time, and these particular requirements should be complete and correct. Now, what is this SRS? We have seen requirement engineering process. We are going to learn the complete process in the next lecture. In requirement engineering process, the input is all the interaction, all the discussion with different people to gather the requirements. And what is the output? The output is the SRS. SRS represents or stands for software requirement specification. I'm repeating, software requirement specification. Now, what is the software requirement specification? Software requirement specification is a legal document which includes technical, organizational requirements, cost, schedule for a product. It is kind of a contract between the client and the contractor. So on the basis of this particular SRS, everything will be designed, developed, implemented, and maintained, right? So SRS is forming the base of the software. Right? Now, SRS is including what? All the technical requirements, organizational requirements. It will include what is the cost for the complete project, what is the schedule, what will be the delivery date, how the product will work, and so many more things. We will see the complete format of SRS. So next thing, it is the output of requirement engineering process. Now comes the nature of SRS. Nature of SRS means what should SRS address? SRS should address all the functionalities, the external interfaces, the performance attributes. This is kind of one, performance attributes, and the design constraints. But the SRS should not include the details of design and implementation, because SRS is kind of a contract between the user, that is the customer, and the contractor. So the user is not concerned what the design will be. He is concerned regarding the functionality, the performance, the constraints, the external interfaces, the attributes of the software. That's all. He is not concerned about the design. So that is why the scope or the nature of SRS will lead from here to here. Now, what should be the characteristics? What are the characteristics of a good software? Software requirement specification. This is the inner level, which is of more important, and these are the second level is the enhanced level. So this is the basic requirement, the basic characteristics, and these are the extended characteristics. What are these? These are correctness. The requirements, the SRS should be correct. It should be complete. It should be consistent. Consistent means no inconsistency should be there. Unambiguous, no ambiguity should be there. Ranking for importance, right level of abstraction. Modifiability, that means if ever needed, we can modify it. Verifiability, it should be verified that we are getting the right product in right manner. Traceability, testability, design independence, understanding by the customer, etc., etc. So all these are what? These are the characteristics of a good SRS. What is the scope of SRS? What I mean from scope, I mean to say that SRS is recommended in important part of software development lifecycle, such as in design implementation. That means where we are going to use this SRS. The SRS is forming the base or foundation for the design and implementation, for complete project monitoring, for verification. Project monitoring, I mean to say the complete checking and managing and tracking the project, maybe through the performance, maybe on the basis of cost, maybe on the basis of time and schedule, right? Verification and validation means what? Verification and validation means whether we are making the right product, that is validation. Right product is validation, and whether we are making the product in the right manner is the verification. Then it is used as a legal documents of agreement. So all these are the forming the scope of SRS. Now, who is going to use SRS? This can be easily understood from here. Design and implementation means the system designer, the system architect, the software developer. Project monitoring, who does the project monitoring? Manager does the project monitoring. So manager can use it, then testers can use it, and that is what we have defined it. So let's see who can use, depending on the scope. Maintenance engineer can use, test engineers can use, system engineers can use, managers can use to monitor it, customers can use it to track it, and these are the users who are going to use the SRS. So that's all for today's lecture. Thank you very much.